What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here at Neighborhood Loans, and we are back with another episode. And this one is actually really special because you guys are going to be learning with me this time. This is a podcast with Mauricio Lopez, but what's super important is I've never met him before neither. This is the first time I'm meeting him on this podcast, and we're just going to dive into his journey. I always see his content, and one thing I love about it is when you have someone that's doing the game and you got game respects game, right? You gotta respect the hustle, and I always see his content. I love the content, and I'm gonna let you shine light, man. Go give a little insight on your
appreciate that, man. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity, man. No, I'm excited to meet you as well. This is a first time for me here as well, and I'm we kind of were talking before the podcast started a little bit of like how the new age of social media and marketing and how that's now been the thing that's moving all the business forward in any industry, right? And I think more realtors have to learn how to maximize and utilize that to their advantage so they can consistently close 2-3 deals every single month. So I'm excited to share all that, man.
Yeah, well, I love it because you actually have a very fascinating background, with digital marketing. So give us a little insight on the come up and how everything can like conspire together.
Yeah. So I got into real estate in 2017. Prior to that, I was working in sales for Sherwin-Williams, a paint company. Prior to that, I ran a digital marketing agency helping small businesses get exposure and get leads through social media, through an online presence, right? So that was kind of like, that combined with the sales experience kind of made me the perfect candidate for selling real estate, right? So yeah, I got licensed in 2017, and that's kind of how the journey started. Is I had the background through that. I went to school for marketing and sales with a minor in hospitality management, so customer service. That's always been like the focus, right? And now getting into real estate, I learned that it's all about building relationships and providing good service. But how do you do that if you don't have clients, right? So you need to learn how to generate leads, how to get business. And I already had that background. I learned how to run online ads, how to maximize my ad spend when it came to my online presence. And I think that's what helped me kind of scale my business in such a quick fashion. When you talk to most agents or the average, like we spoke, like the average agent closes about 4 deals every single year. That's a national average, right? My first year, I did about 19 deals. And so
That's awesome.
I saw that as an opportunity to like just keep capitalizing on the market that is still untapped in terms of like how to market as a real estate agent. I mean, now it's kind of overwhelming and it's everywhere. Everybo's doing.
It's kind of saturated.
Yeah, it's very saturated. Everybody's doing what they should be doing now, right? But I still feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities in the real estate market for agents to perform even that much more and optimize their business that much better to get more market share.
For sure.
Yeah, dude. So it's been quite the journey, man.
No, it sounds like it.
Yeah,
it sounds like it.
it.
And one thing I love that you just spoke about was just talking about relationships, right? And it's similar to you. Like, I think when I first got into the industry, right, it was exactly that. I was trying to find ways to build more relationships. And I saw like, okay, I started posting more and people recognized me at events. So I'm like, oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, 2 and 2, put 2 and 2 together. Now I'm going to start posting more. So it was like my mission every single day to post once a day. And then obviously we met Mark, which is my boy Mark was kind of gave us a little bit more insight on what content to actually start posting, more educational stuff. And it kind of transpired for there. It all came together. But,
nice.
I think that one thing that kind of fascinates me about you though is you actually have the background of digital marketing, which I ain't gonna lie, when you're talking about SEOs, all these different words, I personally, it's like and again, you talk about intention.
Yeah.
I need to be better at having an intention when I post. So dive a little deeper whenever you post and platforms and keywords that you post, dive deeper into that because I don't think the average person like me doesn't understand what that can do for your business.
Yeah. Oh man. It can really change the perspective of your business, right? If break it down, every time you post something online, it should have an intention to bring in more business, whether you put more eyeballs on it by making the content go somewhat viral or having a good call to action for there being a reason for them to want to reach out, So with the digital age that we're in now through social media, it's about grabbing their attention and you only have less than 2 seconds really to grab someone's attention before they're scrolling through what they just saw, right? So providing that value from the very beginning is probably the most important part. So if you look at most of my content lately that I've been doing, you'll notice that I usually ask a question. I'll usually ask a question or give a statement like, hey, these are the 3 things you need to learn about XYZ, or are you thinking about buying, or whatever the question is, right? So something to engage that audience, to want them to actually look through the entire video and see what those key value points that I'm providing are. And then at the end, have some sort of call to action, whether it's on the actual post itself or in the caption of the post, right? And then diversifying your content on all social media platforms, making sure that you're exposing it to every single channel. Every channel has a different way of how the algorithm works in every social media platform. And so you have to figure out how to best maximize it for each specific platform. But yeah, I mean, from there, things will just start. If you do that consistently, it's all about consistency at the end of the day, right? So if you do that consistently, you're going to get exposure. It's just a matter of time.
But do you drop like each video on each platform, the same video, or do you like strategically post it on each platform?
I do so I put it on all platforms, right? So, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, but I schedule them out at different times because every platform has a different optimized window for when you should post things. So it's the same content, just put at different times. And it's a lot of testing that has to go into that because every different social media platform optimizes content in a different way, right? So the same piece of content can go viral on Instagram and it may not go viral on Facebook, or vice versa, right? So it's about kind of testing the market. The thing with digital marketing, especially with social media, is that algorithm's ever changing, right? It's always moving. You always have to adapt to it. And the only way to adapt to it is to consistently keep working on it and keep posting and keep doing content that people like to respond to,
Right.
That's it.
And how much of it do you think is actually knowing the market? Because I'm being complete transparent. I have zero idea. Like I don't study how many views I get. I mean, there is a certain point where you see, okay, this video is doing a lot better than these videos, and you kind of figure out what to post.
Yeah.
But I really don't have any knowledge other than dropping content, right? So like, how much of it do you like actually study to figure out the best?
I mean, I do my fair share of studying on the content, right? The most important piece of the data when you put content out is the impressions. Like how many impressions is that content creating? And that's from people that already follow you, that are already in your network, as well as people that are not in your circle, not in your network, who that content is exposing to. So the whole goal is to try to get it more so towards the people that don't know you yet, so that they have a reason to want to know you, want to follow you, and want to keep learning more, right? So that's the biggest thing, is figuring out how is my content performing, and then based on the content itself, which content is performing well, put more of that same content out, right? So, I mean, people are posting so many different things now, and it's hard to say what goes viral and what doesn't. But I mean, you see, on the real estate space, right? You're seeing realtors do dance videos. You see realtors talk about do rap. You see realtors do, home tours and provide like educational information. So every content's different. And then you have to figure out which content performs the best and do more of that, because that's what people want to see, right? That's the way the marketplace is telling you, hey, we like this content. We want to see more of this content. The algorithm will then adapt to that. If you keep putting the same content, it's going to get in front of more eyeballs. So I give this example to everyone, is like, say you have a new person that you follow on Instagram, for example, right? You meet somebody, you exchange Instagrams, whatever, you follow them, and then you start liking their stuff. The more you like their stuff, the more the next time you get on the app, that's one of the first things you're going to see, and you're going to consistently see their information on top of you. So if you're not consistently posting stuff, you're losing out on that potential window of getting opportunity of being in front of somebody that could be a potential client in the future, could be a potential business partner in the future, whatever, right? So that's the biggest thing, man.
And so for the average person that's watching this, because it doesn't necessarily have to tie into real estate, how much business how much of your business comes from social media? Because I know you're talking about how you got a bunch of different avenues where you generate business from, but how much of your business comes from social media?
So I know we mentioned this earlier. Yeah. So social media is just one channel from my lead generation source of business. I would say it's probably like one of my top three. 60% or so of my business comes from social media, right? So from either like my current network that I have on social media, that I post something, they see my stuff, they see I'm actively in the business. They reach out, they'll message you, they'll DM you or whatever. I love getting the DM that says, "Hey, I've been following your stuff for a while. I love the content. I'm ready to buy." Right?
Yeah.
That's like money. I'm like, holy cow,
Right.
yes, it's working. The system's working, right?
Yeah.
So getting those, like, that's the ultimate goal through the social media channels. So yeah, about 60% or so of my current business comes from social media.
For sure. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into the success that you've had, because it's not that should not be something that people should overlook. Being able to close 19 deals on your first year is almost unheard of. And not only that, kind of growing into, closing about 55 transactions a year is very, and especially the person you are, you're very humble. Like you walked
Thank you,
in,
man.
and I love absolutely the way you're dressed too.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you,
very
dude.
sharp, man. Very
I
sharp.
appreciate that.
But I want to talk about the grind and
Yeah.
getting to the point where you're closing 55 transactions, because that's a lot, bro. That's definitely a lot.
Yeah, thank you, dude. It's definitely something I'm extremely proud of, and it took a lot of trial and error too, right? Like it was about building the foundation for my business and what worked for me. Because the reality is, just like any industry, there's multiple ways to get to the finish line, and everybody has a different finish line, right? Everybody defines success in a different way. So I thought at one point my success was something completely different than where I'm at now, and where I see my new vision going. But yeah, it came down to building the right foundation for my business and knowing how to automate the process. You can't do a lot of this stuff without having it automated, because then you start losing track of things, and it can throw off your whole system, right? So systems and processes and automation is been truly the key to my business, and a lot of trial and error, man. Like as a brand new agent, when I first started back in 2017, I knew nothing about real estate, absolutely nothing. And how did I learn about real estate? YouTube University, dude. Like I was following, all these YouTube channels of people that are successful and YouTube, real estate coaches on YouTube, and just consuming all that information, and then actually putting it into practice.
Right.
A lot of us love to consume content, but we're not taking action on that content.
Right,
you have
right.
to take action on the content, right? Doing something is better than not doing anything at all. So that's what I did. A lot of trial and error, a lot of different tactics to see what worked best for my business, tweaking things. I had a team at one point. I stopped the team. There was a lot of things that I've done through my real estate journey to get me to where I'm at now. But yeah, I think now in where I'm at with my career, with my life and my family, I think I'm at a place where I'm very content with how my business is going. And now the whole goal is to help other people do the same thing and achieve that same level of success.
Right. And something you said, it's funny that, life goes full circle. You're the person that's watching everything on YouTube. Now you are the creator, right?
Yeah,
you are the
dude,
person that
yeah.
people gravitate towards. And it's just, I love how life always goes full circle in that sense. But you did say something that kind of stood out to me. And I was saying how your vision and your goals have changed, right?
Yeah.
Success, your definition of success changed. And I think every entrepreneur, anybody in life, your vision and goals of success is always going to change.
Yeah.
And over these times that you have developed in real estate, how do you feel like your goal, like what was your goal when you first got into real estate versus now, right? You're in a different stage of your career. So
yeah, completely different stage. I've been doing this now, 6 years or so. When I first got into real estate, I had the same mentality as I would say 99% of realtors have when they first start. This is easy. I'm going to make so much money. Let me start working on it. You quickly realize, okay, this is not easy. This is not all butterflies and rainbows, right? Like I think a lot of realtors do the unfortunate thing of just posting our success. And yes, success is a great part of the business, and it does help, let people know, hey, I'm in the industry, I do this, but we don't share our failures. We don't share the deal that fell apart, the deal that was supposed to close tomorrow and it just died, right? Like all these failures that come from real estate, because that's the reality of the market. Like there's ups and downs in every industry and every market. And so it's very hard to kind of articulate that because we don't want people to know like, oh, I'm actually not good at this right now. Right.
Right.
So when I first started, my goal was like, hey, I want to be a very successful agent. I want to close so many deals, make so much money, and then have my own office and then just blow that up from there. Right. That was the ultimate goal. When I first started, I obviously knew nothing. I had to learn from other agents, people on YouTube. I learned and consumed as much content to better my skills and develop myself as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. From there, my plan kind of shifted, right? I started at a brokerage. I switched over to another brokerage and I started a team. Things were going well. Pandemic hits. And I decide, well, actually prior to the pandemic, a month before the pandemic, I decided to buy out my brokerage from like the old owners, right? So I took over the office. I took over the broker. That at that time was my plan. Like I want to have my own office and then just start growing it from there. Took it over February of 2020 and then lockdown next month. It's like, holy cow. Now another thing to kind of throw into the wrenches there, man. It was crazy. So, we did what we can. We adjusted. We kept up with the market. A lot of the stuff that we were already doing and teaching was already in the digital space. So people already knew how to do virtual meetings, how to have Zoom, show clients properties on Zoom, where a lot of other brokerages were still keeping up with that and like starting to realize that this is where things are going, right? Mm-hmm. And that kind of got me into the realization that like the space we're in now in terms of real estate can be easily scaled and duplicated if we're not restricted to just the local market. So, 2 years after the pandemic, 2022 rolls around. And, at this point, when I first started real estate, my wife was expecting, we were expecting our first kid. So I was, preparing to be a dad and all that stuff. So, now 2022, I've got 3 kids, life is different. Like priorities are changed. My time and how I spend my time has changed. Right. And so I've adjusted my goals with how I see my life moving forward. So recently, as of earlier this year, I made the switch to another brokerage, which is now a cloud-based brokerage that allows me the opportunity to now mentor other agents and essentially teach them what's worked for me and help them become successful in their own site. So now that's the ultimate goal. Now I have the ability to now scale my skills, globally, not just be limited to the market here in the Chicagoland area, and help other agents, again, achieve some sort of success and consistently close, 2 to 3 deals every single month.
Right. And I love that. That. And I think that, you see the journey of life, right? You go from find a brokerage, having a couple kids, and now you're at a completely different brokerage. And, I want to kind of really dive into that aspect because that's something that I'm about to be going into. I'm having my first child pretty soon.
Congrats,
in a month. Thank
congrats.
you, man. But again, that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? I have a passion and strong love for my job. I love it. And I could work to 8 o'clock at night and I won't peep a sweat. Like it's just, I love it so much that's the way that I am. But obviously, like you said, time, right? It's something that you're never going to get back. You're never going to get time back. And figuring out ways on how still being able to do the things that you love, but also taking time for your family because that's probably the most important part. You're working for your family, right?
Exactly.
But I want you to kind of shine light on that. I think that, over time your goals have shifted. And how was that transition from you owning your own brokerage and then obviously having your first kid? How was that transition like? Because it all happened in the same year.
It happened very, very close in time. Yeah. So, honestly, becoming a parent changes you, right? Having responsibility for another life should change you. It changes you dramatically. And everybody has a different response to, has a different way of dealing with becoming a parent, right? For me, it gave me another reason to be more motivated and succeed in my career. But it also made me realize how I wanted to spend my time, right? Like before, I would work from the moment I got up. Like the first thing I was doing as soon as I rolled out of bed was checking my emails, right? Right before going to bed, checking my email. So I'd be working day and night, right? Where now, when your kids are, infants, they don't notice those things, right? But once they start speaking, once they start, my oldest is now 5, right? So he's talking. My second kid is 3, so they're speaking now, and they notice things. And the things I realize with kids is like they're sponges, so they notice something and they won't let go of that memory, right? And so I didn't want to be the person that, like, when I got home, I was still working. I was still on my phone and neglecting my kids. It's funny. I saw social media. I saw a post where, like, it was these photos of, like, parents, like, being on their phone and, like, with their kids just, like, kind of staring at them, like, what's going on here? Like, you're not paying attention to me, right? So there's those little things that makes you realize, like, your kids are only little for so long, and you only have such very finite time to spend with them before they become teenagers and they don't want anything to do with you. And now my parents suck and all this stuff, right? And then they become adults and you're like, okay, now less time with them, right? So I wanted to maximize the way I spent time with my kids, So for my wife and I, that's been our priority ever since we had our first kid, is like, how do we make sure that we give them the best life possible while still maintaining the goals that we want for ourselves and our business? Because she's my business partner. She's a real estate agent as well with me. And now the way we run our business now is very intentional with how we spend our time. Yeah, and that's been the key. So making sure that we know how to manage our time is so valuable, right?
Right.
So for us, it's time blocking, scheduling things the way they should be scheduled, and then making sure that, when it's family time, when it's time to stay with the kids, that phone's on do not disturb. I'm not taking any meetings. I'm not taking any calls. Like, things can wait. I talked earlier, we're selling houses. We're not performing surgery, where it's not a life or death situation, right? Things can wait, and if people really want to work with you, they'll respect your time and they'll respect the fact that you have those boundaries in your business. Right.
So I know there's a lot of different perspectives on this, and I know one of the biggest things is, obviously, it's called work-life balance, figuring out what the biggest thing works. So do you believe there is such thing as work-life balance?
I mean, I think everybody defines it very differently, right? For me specifically, now I'm getting into the realization that work-life balance for me means making sure that I do what I need to do for my work before I walk through the door of my house. Because once I'm home, that time is now for the kids. And that time has to be uninterrupted time, And I'm human, I'll sometimes I'll pick up my phone while I'm with my kids. I'm like, oh, I just got a new email. I just got this offer accepted, or I gotta negotiate this deal. Give me 5 minutes. Let me go step out, right? So it happens, but at least making the conscious awareness that, like, that time for me at home is for them, and being present in that moment with them is something that you'll never regret as a parent, right? Because the thing that kids will mostly remember is the time you spend with them and how you make them feel. So I want to make sure that they feel that I'm present, I'm there, and I spent time with them, and they had a good time with me,
Right.
So
So do you feel like now that your life perspective has changed, your definition of success is more geared towards your family, or would you say it's so everything you do is?
Yeah, dude. So now, man, it's funny, dude. Like a couple years ago, right? I made this post when I was, like, I don't know, and I think I was in high school, or maybe I was in college or something. But I put a post like, I'll be successful by the time I'm 28. Like, I wrote this on, like, a Facebook post or something, right? And then when I turned 28, I went, like, I saw, like, it was like a reminder thing. I saw it popped up, and it made me kind of think back and say, like, what is my definition of success? By the time I was 28, I was already married. I already had a good growing real estate business, and we already had our first kid with our second one on the way. So for me, I was like, I made it. This is success. I want to just keep doing this. So yeah, I mean, I've had the fancy cars. I've done all that. I realized that all those material things, while they're great and it's nice things to have, the one invaluable thing that we all have, and we all have the same access to it, is time. We all have the same 24 hours to spend in a day, right? So how you maximize that time is very specific to the individual. But for me, that's been my definition of success, is making sure that my time is very intentional with how I use it.
Okay. And dude, I'll be honest with you. We have very similar conversations that I have with my uncle. Like he's my
Yeah.
mentor. My uncle
Yeah.
got me into the business. So he's the
Nice.
one that kind of taught me everything that I know. And we have similar conversations because I guess the point that I'm in my career was pretty much the younger self, right?
Yeah.
I really was like, okay, I want to be a top producer. I want to be this. Like those are a list of things that I've done. Similar, I accomplished some of the goals that I wanted to achieve quicker than what I even expected.
Nice.
So I was like, I was blown out my own eyes. I was like, I couldn't believe that I achieved those things. But now as I get closer to having a kid, right? I think my biggest thing is my mindset has shifted to helping, right? I love when people come up to me and they ask me for help. It's just fun. That's more fun to me than having the accolades, having like, when you win these accolades, at first for the first day, you're like, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. I'm that the next day. Then you're like, all right, like ain't nothing changed. Like
exactly.
nothing's different, and a lot of like I said, a lot of the things it's these accomplishments are things that you think that you really want, and then you finally get it and you're like, okay, it's nothing has changed. And it's another life routine and you get kind of dragged into it. And I think that I feel like I get more value through being able to do exactly what you're saying, is share stories and sharing the experiences that you have with individuals who are trying to grow their business, because it's cool to see, like when you see my assistant, she just closed her first deal, and you see things like that and you're like, she's licensed, so you see her and it gets you excited. You're like, okay, this person. Now you see other individuals who are coming up in the industry, and I think that comes with success. And I think that for me, my definition of success has changed through that, and then seeing other people grow. And obviously when I have kids, time is something that I'm to this day, I'm nervous about. Like
you'll never get back, man. And everyone will tell you, there's no way to prepare.
Yeah.
There's no way to prepare to be a parent. There's no guidebook. There's no owner's manual on how to be a good parent, but every kid's different, and you just have to figure out what's best for your family and how you want to, be present with your kid and raise your kid and everything like that. So, it's tough, man. But for me, it's been the biggest blessing. Yeah. The biggest blessing is being able to be a dad and I have 3 little boys. So like,
that's crazy.
The life at home is chaotic. It's fun. It's messy, but I wouldn't picture it any other way,
Right.
Like,
right.
I love where I'm at in my life, in my career. And now back to your point, right? Is like, now I'm in that position where now I can give back, like all that knowledge that I've accumulated through years of YouTube watching and course after course and learning. I can now put it all together in one way that helps other newer agents not have to go through that same process and spend all that time learning all those things. I can be like, hey, I've done it. This is what worked. Try this out and see if it works for you.
Right. And one thing I want to shine light on is you actually spoke upon, like, no one talks about the negative. Right.
Yeah,
and upon your journey, what negative experience for you do you feel as if kind of shifted your journey? Like when were you like, okay, this is fucked up. I don't know if I should have, like, I don't know what to do. I feel trapped. Like, when do you feel like that happened? And
I feel like I still have those moments, man.
Okay.
Like there's always those defining moments in your career that you're like, man, is this the right path? Yeah. Should I keep going this way or should I go that way? Right. So for me, I mean, one of the biggest ones was, when I took over the brokerage that I owned, right? Like, I didn't know if that was even the route I wanted to take. I didn't know if that was the best decision for me at the time. And I didn't realize all the implications that would come from that in terms of like the leadership change in the organization and how other agents perceived it. And so that was scary. That moment was very scary, but it was definitely a moment that I realized the decision that was made was the best decision for me, because it kind of led me to where I'm at now in terms of realizing how I want my career to continue. And I realized that it wasn't, having an office. It wasn't like having a brokerage. It was more so that mentorship role and being able to teach other agents the strategies that have worked for me.
So what was the hardest part about first starting your brokerage? I'll be honest with you. Everyone makes you, like you said, Lambo trucks. You start thinking of all those things. What was the hardest part when you first opened it?
So my situation is very unique because I technically didn't open it. We already had an existing office, right? That I just took over. But it was, the leadership structure change and the operations part of the business is like making sure that the things that we were working from onboarding to training to continuing education was all done in the way that I thought would be best. So it was a lot of restructuring things from internally from the foundation, right? If I had to start over from scratch, it would have been a lot different because I didn't have those resources already in place and I didn't know the best ways to utilize them. And so I think that path just made more sense for me. But yeah, I mean, any business owner goes through the same struggles, like figuring out, okay, what's working in my industry, what should I continue doing, and what needs to kind of be eliminated, because you do have to adjust your goals every so often to figure out what's going to be the best path that I want to take my business and my career in.
No, yeah.
So
no, for sure. That makes sense. And I think that, one of the biggest things that helped me obviously was a mentor. And when you start and own your own brokerage and being one of the main leaders, did you have anybody that kind of guide you? Or you just jumped?
I wish I did, dude. Honestly, crazy, I wish I did.
That's crazy.
Because I probably would have done things a lot differently. But I essentially went to YouTube and was like, hey, who's doing this and how can I learn from them? And those are the people that I basically got all my skills from. And if I had a mentor, probably things would have been a little bit different in terms of how I structured the business and the brokerage. But, I'm glad that the things turned out the way they did, because it kind of led me to where I'm at now in terms of my career, the connections I've made. I mean, the things you start to realize in the real estate industry in general is like, it's a small world. There's only a handful of people that are actually producing in the business that you interact with on a consistent basis, that you do deals with on a consistent basis. And so I think I'd like to say I've built a pretty good reputation for myself in terms of how I present myself in my business, that it's helped clients get deals where I would have otherwise not have gotten them if I didn't build that relationship with the other side. Right. So I think knowing your value, knowing your worth, and then having a good reputation in the industry, because you're gonna work with the same people over and over, right? Yeah. So if I work with someone and I know like, hey, things went south on this deal and you didn't man up to it, you didn't say anything about it. If I get another deal and you're on it, like I'm gonna think twice before recommending my client to go with your offer. I might, present other options to them, right? So or do things a little different. So reputation, I think, is everything, and being able to have a good reputation in this industry is really one of the only ways that you can continue to grow and continue to be successful.
No, yeah. And I 100% agree. And I one thing that I watched recently was a podcast that just spoke about just success. And it was the owner of Airbnb.
Oh, nice.
And the reason why I bring this up, because I found it very fascinating that you really didn't have a mentor. And I'll kind of talk about the Airbnb thing, but you didn't really have a mentor, right? And you use YouTube as your mentor. And I think one of the biggest things is in the podcast, right? The owner of Airbnb was the same thing. He just kind of jumped and he blew it up, right? He blew it up, and it was with a bunch of his friends. But I feel like people have a special trait within themselves, right? And in order for you to become successful, you just kind of have to figure it out along the way. If you have a mentor, it kind of speeds up the process.
Yeah, for sure.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot be successful, and you're a true testament to that. You utilize your resources that you currently have, and you blew something up, and now you're currently, in many people's eyes, successful, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
One thing that I loved about the podcast, though, is he talked about the ugly that we were speaking about, that no one really talks about. And he was saying how he wanted to blow up Airbnb so bad, right? And he became the CEO of Airbnb. And he was like, blew it up. He went public. They evaluated his company to $100 billion. Damn. And he woke up that day, and he said he looked outside, he looked and was like, I'm the man. I'm on top of the world. He's like, I'm on top of the mountain. He put his stake there, and he's looking, and he's like, I'm here. And then he wakes up the next morning, he puts on his joggers, and he has like 12 Zoom calls and whatever. And he's like, what's next? Like, like I'm on top of the world. Yeah. And at that point, he felt lonely because he had his 40th birthday and he had to make a list of people invited, but he didn't have anybody to invite because he hasn't talked to some people in so long, because he's just dove everything into the business, So it just all kind of tailors back to what we're talking about, which is I think is important in success is family. I think family is my number one driver, right? That's always been my number one driver on why I wanted to be successful.
Yeah.
And give back to obviously individuals who are also in the industry
Yeah.
and things of that nature. But like I said, I think I really love the fact that you are just self-made. You know, you're
Thank you, dude.
self-made from something, and you've been able to build something from digital marketing into the realtor that you are. But do you see within the next 5 years, do you still see being in real estate something that's your forever or?
Yeah, most definitely, man. I like most entrepreneurs, my mind is constantly going, right? I'm
Yeah.
always constantly looking for opportunities and things I want to create or do. I think real estate does allow me that opportunity to keep giving back and keep producing. That's my ultimate goals now is keep running my business from the production side of what I've been doing. And aside from that, also expose my skills to other agents that want to learn, right? So in the next 5 years, I see myself just continuing that on that path and keep doing that. And, watching my kids grow, that's the biggest thing,
Right.
like it's crazy to like put it into perspective, right? But in 5 years, my oldest will be 10 and then I'll have an 8-year-old and I'll have a 6-year-old. So like knowing where that's going to go, I have no idea, but I just want to be present and be able to continue to provide for them and continue to give them the same life that my parents gave me,
Right.
and the love and the care that my parents instilled in me. I just want to keep giving those values to my kids. That's the ultimate goal.
For sure. And do you think when they instilled those values, did you grow up here in Chicago?
Yeah, dude, born and raised, man.
Okay. And what did they, when you say your parents instilled values, what exact values did they instill in you?
Oh man. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom and she was a hustler, man. So she would do everything from Avon to Mary Kay to sell jewelry to babysit, everything that she could to try to make some extra cash. She would make it happen. And then she would always spend time for us, right? And always made time for us as a family. And then my dad, he was always working, but when he got home, he made it a priority to spend time with us. I learned that from an early age from my dad. It's like, yes, work is important and making money obviously is a necessity, but the time that we have as a family is very limited. You go through life and the only thing is certain is death. Right. Everyone's going to die at one point, unfortunately. Right. So like making the most of that time that you do have, it was so valuable to me. And now I have the opportunity to reinstill those same values to my kids. And thankfully my wife and I are on the same page in terms of our values and how we want to raise our kids and what we see in our future in our business. And the goal is just to continue on that path. And things are going to come along the way. No journey is ever perfect. There's always going to be hurdles to overcome, new obstacles to face, but you just have to stay positive and just keep moving forward. Never walk back, just move forward,
All right, Mauricio, thank you so much for that last part. I really do. That resonates with me very well. And I want to dive into something that we've been really talking about it, which is the core subject of leadership. And you've obviously showed that you have a great trait of leadership, right? But I want to really dive in deeper into what you have done for other individuals. I think we were just talking about you to other individuals have grown. And what first off, what do you think makes a great leader? And number two, what have you done to help individuals grow into where they're at right now?
Yeah, man, I think a good leader leads by example, leads by doing, right? Every time I've taught an agent how to do something, it's from experience, right? So I'm never teaching them something that I've never done myself, right? And so I think if people see that you're actually doing what you say you're doing, they respect you more for it. And they're like, yeah, this guy, like there's a method to the madness, as they say, right?
Right.
So being able to lead by example, I think is a big thing. But then as a leader too, you have to be coachable yourself. So you have to be able to take feedback, whether it's good or bad, and learn from it and develop with that as well, right? Because everyone learns in a different way. Everyone takes information in a different way. So adjusting to someone's like learning style or learning structure is also, I think, very, very valuable.
Yeah. And one thing I find is funny though, is a lot of people want to become leaders.
Yeah.
And they want to be successful.
Yeah.
But they don't take the steps to do so. They don't take the sacrifices to do so. You know, like
Yeah.
I feel like I think of life with 3 pillars. Okay. The first pillar is traveling, partying, sex, relationships,
Right.
like all these things in one pillar, right? And this is something that I think everyone needs, but
Right.
this is not like if you focus too much on this, you're going to sacrifice other things, which
For
is
sure.
the second thing, your career, your job, and what other people may define as success. And then the third thing is your family, right?
Yeah.
And you're never going to have all 3 lined up at the same time, because if you do all 3, you're going to lack on one of the 3.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
And I feel like a lot of leaders have to gear towards your family and your job and your career and your success. And I
Yeah.
don't think that you can't travel, you can't party, you can't have a good time without it. But a lot of leaders have to focus in on these 2 things, because these are the 2 key paths to success.
For
right?
sure.
And I feel like one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is that when people are confused on why they aren't growing, you just have to literally show them like, you're focusing too much on these
Yeah.
avenues, right? Like you need to steer back into the middle. And now when they do it, they see the success. And I think that's a big part of leadership, is kind of directing people in the ways when you don't see it. Cause I'll be honest with you, there's some times where I don't realize the things that I'm doing. And then someone points it out. It's like, oh, I thought it was a simple fix. Okay, quick. Now you're back into being successful. And I think, like you said, experience.
Mhm.
I always feel like I have 20 years of experience without having it, right? My uncle has 20 years of experience in the industry. I don't need it, right? I just
Right.
follow his lead, and whatever
Yeah.
he tells me, I jump. How high do you need to jump? I jump, right? But I want to, because I think you have, I want everyone to see what you have accomplished as a leader. So what if the people that you have mentored and guided, how have they grown in their careers?
Yeah, man. So thankfully now, I've been doing this for going on 6-7 years. I've been able to help other agents succeed as well. When I first started, I had a team. I had agents essentially showing them my system, my process, and how I do things. And I've been able to create like top producing agents through that. I've had other agents that have learned from what I've done and gone and opened up their own offices and done other things, right? So in other industries. And so seeing that success from, learning the skills, and it comes down to the foundation, right? So like making sure that they've built a solid foundation for their business and for themselves, and focusing on the right activities. What are those money-making activities that are actually moving the needle closer into your business, and how do you do more of that? I think a lot of agents, again, man, we see like new agents see the flash, see the social media posts of closings and all the success, and they think that our business is easy. And then they have a hard realization once they get into the industry that this is hard work. Like what we do, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes to be that successful. People see only the top of the iceberg, but they don't see what's underneath the water, right? So all the hours, all the sacrifice, all the learning, all the delegating, it's a lot, but if you have the right mindset to overcome those things and do things even when you don't want to do them, but you need to do them, that's really the only way that you're going to set yourself apart from an average agent to a successful producing agent.
I love that. I love that. The key to success obviously is discipline. Like,
that's it. Yeah, 100%.
I tell people all the time, like you said, routine, time blocking, kind of figuring out. I'm still learning how to time block to this day, bro. I'll be honest with you. A lot of times I have ADHD. I could go up, down, left, right, phone rings, goes here. Okay. Run around. Like that's just my nature. I've always been like that, but a little by little, I'm doing small implements to my calendar. Like, okay, I honor your calendar, calendar. Like, you got to treat it like it's gold, because
I
it
live
really
off my
is,
calendar, man. Yeah. If it's not on my calendar, it's not top of mind, and I don't do it. So
I agree.
That's
my
goal,
calendar's
man.
printed every single day. But again, another one of my mentors is the owner of the company, the owner of Neighborhood Loans. And he always tells me the first thing that you should do and add to your calendar is your personal life. Yeah. And then base everything off your personal life, right? That's something I'm trying to get better at too. Is like
you have to find balance.
Trying to figure out everything. But I want to kind of segue into just investing overall. I know that obviously you're a realtor, right? And you want to I don't want to work forever, right? And my biggest thing is I want to get to a point where I don't have to work.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal, man.
Right. I don't want to have to work. I want to be able to just have my business on autopilot and not have the need to work. So for you, do you feel like you've made any investments to be able to fulfill your future?
Yeah, man. So I think there's no better freedom than time freedom.
Yeah.
And once we can all achieve time freedom, like there's no possibilities of what you can do, right? So I've definitely found ways to diversify my investments and make sure that I'm getting a good return from what I'm doing, right? So like I invest, obviously as a realtor, I invest in property. So I've got a couple buildings myself, right? The cash flow is a great, stepping stone to building some good generational wealth. Aside from that, obviously I have investments in, through my, financial planning, financial analysts, all these other avenues. The beautiful thing now about the company that I'm with is that I have another potential investment option through residual income through the brokerage, right? So essentially what I can do is I can mentor people, and if they close a deal, I can get some of their commission.
Nice.
So, if you scale that up, you have 100, 200 agents that are producing, you can make a good living just off of residual income, right? So, diversifying my investments, I think is key to making sure that I have a good plan for a retire. I would love to retire early, man. If I can retire, at 45, I'd be set, I'm almost there, like,
honestly though, like I feel like I don't know if I would retire. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'd want something to do. Yeah. There's got to be purpose. There's got to be like, I need to have a purpose of what I'm doing and be intentional with that time. So
yeah, I think having the ability, not having to work, like I could wake up and like I want to go on vacation.
Yeah,
and I don't really care. I put my phone, do that stuff. I don't really care. That drives me like, oh, dude, I love that feeling.
That's that time freedom, right? Dude. That's that time freedom.
And exactly. Chase. You don't have to. I like that. I never heard of that time freedom. I do like that. But I want you to kind of wrap it up for any individual and entrepreneurs on how they can grow and scale their business. And it doesn't matter what industry they're in. It doesn't matter what advice would you give an individual trying to scale a business? All
right, man. So golden nugget, right? For anyone, any industry, any business. Doing this from the experience of having a digital marketing company to now working with realtors and all the other, real estate professionals. If you don't have some sort of online presence, you'll never be found and no one will know who you are. People have to know you, like you, and trust you. But if they can't know about you, they cannot trust you. If they can't trust you, they can't like you, and you can't earn their business, right? Oh, nice. So having a good online presence is the start to that. Think of it as your first impression, right? Yeah. So the way I tell it specifically for realtors is like, if I'm selling a property and I take a picture on my phone, that first impression is going to be terrible. But if I hire a professional photographer to come out, take the best picture, that first impression is now way better, right? Yeah. So if somebody's Googling for any industry and they don't see you on the first couple of pages on the Google search, you're left in the dust. Your competition's already taken over.
Right.
So having an online presence is the only way to help yourself stand out.
Right.
And we go through different strategies. I've taught agents, other realtors, and then other, business people on how to maximize something as simple as like your Google business page. Like there's so much value and so much opportunity for organic free business that can come to you if you optimize it the right way. Think of everything as a search engine. Right? Keywords and search engine. That's priority.
I love that.
Yeah.
And everybody watching, I want you guys to hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe and turn on your post notifications. But more importantly, I hope you guys enjoyed this because I'm going to tell you guys, I love this. I enjoyed it. This is the first time I ever met him. So it was great to share this experience with you, brother. I appreciate you and your time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing day. And more importantly, hope you had your cafecito.